I'm Simon, and this is a talk about bug. It started with a 500 error when getting an unknown path on a staging server, which shouldn't happen. I have a catch-all cowboy handler that serves a nice 404, and that's just completely messed up the slides. One sec. Yeah. So first, check the logs for that machine. Here's the log file. It's empty. So that shouldn't be possible. Anything that causes a 500 usually prints an error log and a crash trace or two. Maybe there's some sort of stood out buffering that only happens in production mode, and if I do the same thing a bunch more times, I'll get something. May as well try that. And success, sort of. Okay, so what's going on here? It's got application, logger, exited, shut down. The logger's crashed. Well, that explains why logging was behaving a bit weirdly. Okay, so it crashed in my Cowboy 404 handler. And the reason is undef, a function's undefined, and that function was inspect. Really? Inspect being called with 2 arguments, an empty list, and some options. Okay, what? Let's have a look at the line it crashed on. The stack trace pointed to the second line, so the expression that crashed was this, which for this request was equivalent to inspecting an empty list. So what's going on here? Inspect generally works. The things I log on startup inspect stuff, just not lists. And it's only happening in production. Well, a staging cluster, so not really production, but production as far as mix is concerned. Never seen on my local machine, never seen in CI. So what's different between prod and locally? I think I remember hearing someone talking about Elixir consolidating protocols in production. I don't know what that means, but inspect is a protocol, right, I think? So let's try compiling and running locally with mixenv is prod, and no luck. Okay, time to get serious. That's me being serious. Over some time and with some help from the Elixir community, we worked out that Elixir inspect.list.inspect doesn't seem to be available as a function, but the actual file it's contained in, the .beam file, is there in the slug. I downloaded the slug and checked, and it seems to have been compiled correctly. And code.ensure_loaded, which loads a module if it isn't already, just seems to behave completely randomly. And to be clear, this isn't just between builds. This is between deploys of a single build, so the same slug, the same compiled artifact. After some more experimentation, it looked like this problem was only ever happening in the first call to inspect for some data type if that first call was done from a Cowboy handler. So I could avoid the problem by calling this on startup, inspecting every data type I could, which seemed to suggest that this was maybe a bug in Erlang's code loader, which led to a GitHub issue with all sorts of scary labels. Eventually, we worked out that this was actually a red herring, and the reason the being called from a Cowboy handler made a difference was just because if it runs on at startup, it was running earlier, and actually the Cowboy handler was irrelevant. This is a lightning talk, so rather than keep you all in suspense, I will jump to the answer. First, I should say it wasn't me who solved it. It was this guy, who is Lewis, who is awesome. Quick note about our deployment process. We're mounting compiled slugs. These are slugs compiled with the Heroku build pack, but not running on Heroku. We're mounting them with overlay.fs, which means any file system writes by the application don't change the actual slug. The mutable layer was in /temp, in a directory unique to each Docker container instance. Unrelatedly, we had a maintenance script that ran immediately after a deploy completed that, among other things, cleaned up any files in /temp with a last modified time older than 2 days ago. You see where this is going. Since the things in /temp are overlay.fs upper directories, this script didn't change the actual slug. So whenever I downloaded it or put it on anything else to try it again, the bug disappeared. It was all correct. But it just marked the file as deleted in overlay.fs, so they were hidden from the Docker container, which led to sadness, depending mostly on whether a given Beam file had already been loaded by the Erlang VM at the time the cleanup script ran. So the problem only showed up with inspect because all the other files and protocols were loaded and exercised earlier on at startup, but not inspect.list. Solution, move the upper directory out of /temp. That's it.